I'm going to explain every strategy type that you need to know as a trader in less than 10 minutes. After this one video, you'll know the core strategy types that are key to making money in trading that will also allow you to create profitable strategies and optimize them better than ever before. These are the strategy types I use to run my portfolio of 10 plus algorithmic trading strategies in the futures markets. As you can see here, this is my last month's performance. Feel free to check out my recap videos as well. And now these strategies don't just work for futures, they actually work in equities, crypto, forex, and even options. Now, before we get into the first one, let me just reduce my camera size here so I can zoom in a bit for you guys. Now, the first one is trend following. Now, this is by far the most common strategy type you'll probably ever deal with, and these are run by big funds like Bill Dunn that he has been exploiting it for over a decade. He has consistently outperformed the S&P 500. Now, if you actually want to see his performance, here is a composite over the past, I think it's about decade and a half, maybe even two. You can also watch, there's a video I have fully around Bill Dunn and some of the lessons he's spoken about online. It's actually a really good video if you want to get further into how Bill Dunn has been able to do this for such a long period of time. Now, trend following has actually been one of the most enduring systematic strategies and has ultimately relied on the risk premium of the underlying asset. If you're not too sure what a risk premium is, I do have a video that actually talks a lot more in depth in it, but to give you a 10-second summary, risk premium is primarily where you're taking on more risk than others compared to, like, let's say the risk-free rate, which would be bonds or high interest saving accounts. And equities normally always has to outperform that over a long enough period of time because you are taking on more volatility risk, which adds that kind of risk premium. Now, what do trend following strategies actually do? Well, they aim to capitalize on holding during directional momentum, meaning that those trends upwards, so bullish trends and bearish trends. Typically, they are characterized by a low win rate, but are extremely high risk to return on winners. Now, individually, win rate or risk to return doesn't really matter, but when combined, that's what actually makes a profitable strategy, meaning you could have a very high win rate strategy and a very low risk to return rate, but it's still going to be a very profitable strategy. Whereas in trend following, it's kind of the opposite. So you have a very low, normally about 20 to 30%, and then you have a very high risk to return on a very small subsection of those trades, which are maybe 10 to 1 winners, for example. Now, the core philosophy of trend following is you're trying to cut your losers really as small as possible while letting your winners run dramatically. A great trend follower as well is Jerry Parker, and he talks about this a lot, that a lot in trend following, you need to let your winners run as long as possible. And this is also why you've probably heard the classic phrases of try to cut your losers as small as possible and letting your winners run. Those are technically correct phrases when you're applying to trend following, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're correct for all of trading. And this is why understanding strategy types is so important, because if you're trading a different strategy type and you're not trading trend following, then this advice is actually kind of wrong for you. Now, here's another brutal truth most traders won't ever really tell you. While equities markets do trend upwards over the long horizon, so over the year, over the next 10 years, for example, it can be incredibly choppy in between those trends. Now, there are going to be a lot of false signals everywhere, ready to trap anyone that's really unprepared for that. And that's also why trend following has such a long period of drawdowns during their overall performance. If we quickly just scroll up to Bill Dunn's, you can see that he actually was in drawdowns for multiple years at a time, and that's because it's a low win rate strategy, meaning for a long period of time, you could go through a lot of consecutive losers, but then when you do hit a winner, it could be a 10x, 20x winner that makes up for all those previous losses. Now, let me just scroll back to where I was before. Now, the main advantage of trend following is its simplicity. Pretty much anyone can do it, and it's a very simple philosophy to get behind. But the catch that most people ignore, as I was kind of mentioning, is that drawdown periods can be very long and very grueling, where a lot of people will quit, and ultimately that's why they start losing with trend following. Take, for example, Bill Dunn. Despite outperforming the S&P 500 over decades, he endured years of painful drawdown that would have made most traders completely quit. Now, just before I move on to mean reversion, if you're thinking what's an example of a trend following strategy, well, a lot of the classic ones that you've seen online, such as a moving average crossover, longing different touches of moving averages, such as like a touch to the 200 MA, a lot of those are very classic trend following strategies. Anything where you're taking directional momentum upwards or downwards and you're trying to hold for a long period of time normally is a trend following system. Now, mean reversion is next. The best way I like to explain mean reversion is you want to think of the market as an elastic band, meaning that it is constantly stretching and snapping backwards. To kind of give you an example of this, as you can see here is the mean, so the average, where you can get overextended peaks and you can also get overextended troughs, so just a low period between kind of two highs. To go into a bit more detail of how this actually works, it's primarily when price deviates dramatically from their average and you're betting that it will return to normal at some period, or you're betting that it will swing the other way and you're taking that whole position the other way. Now, this is a great strategy because a lot of people see choppy markets as just complete market noise, where they say stay out of the market, it's too choppy, there's nothing you can really do. But with a mean reversion strategy, this is actually really easy P&L. You can use statistical measures like standard deviations or z-scores, and you can help identify overextended price movements and then take on risk during that period of time. Now, these work obviously best in range-bound markets or very volatile markets that are still range-bound, and they are often very high win rate but very low risk to reward, meaning that most of the time, if you think about it, if you're buying at a trough, you're going to get a very high win rate because when a price is that overextended, most likely it will snap back, meaning that you have that high win rate period there. But your return is normally going to be half of how much you're risking, because the key thing in mean reversion that a lot of people misunderstand is that the further the price stretches away from the average, the stronger the snapback, meaning that technically if price keeps on moving against you, let's say you bought in at a trough and then you kept on adding, technically that is somewhat, at least on a strategy type sense, the correct thing to do on a mean reversion, because the further it gets away from the mean, as long as your mean calculation is correct, the more likelihood that it will actually snap back to that particular mean. It's like if you've ever traded anything that's parabolic, you'll see something that goes parabolic maybe for 10-20 minutes, and then it will snap back and start to fade for the next couple of hours. And that's a very profitable strategy. But the key thing with mean reversion is that during true trend changes, or if you've miscalculated the average, for example, you'll get absolutely crushed waiting for a reversal, meaning that you'll have a lot of wins, and then you could have one win that wipes out 20%, maybe 30% of your P&L because you just kept on adding against it. So there is a balance obviously to be played, because you never know which move that will actually be. A big example of this was, for example, GME. GME was heavily overextended from what a lot of people thought was the average, and it kept on squeezing because there was another element that was at play. And if you kept on adding to that, most likely you would have blown up. But as we know, GME was a very small sample size, meaning that there wasn't many other GMEs, right? Since 2020, we've barely had any parabolic action like that, or at least to that scale, meaning that there was a long period of time now where you've been winning if you were doing mean reversion strategies. So there is obviously ultimately a way you have to play this carefully so that you don't get blown up on those sort of plays. And that could be whether you have a max sort of stop loss, for example, or you diversify with different approaches. Next is arbitrage, and this follows a different playbook entirely. This is a pure market inefficiency, and normally these are called alphas. As a general example here is how you could do maybe an arbitrage between, these particular different coins. Now, normally you're going to do it between different exchanges, but it also can be between different assets if there's different ways of conversion, for example. Now, to imagine arbitrage, imagine finding a price discrepancy that guarantees a profit before anyone else notices. In arbitrage, it's a very difficult thing to lose in if the actual arbitrage is true and you haven't miscalculated something, such as fees, or if you can actually push through that much size or liquidity of that particular arbitrage. Now, arbitrages normally include mispricings between exchanges, or you can even do statistical arbitrages where correlated stocks / tokens, if you're trading crypto, diverge. Now, the real world advantage of arbitrage strategies is they are probably some of the highest Sharpe ratio strategies, meaning that they have the best risk-adjusted returns compared to really any other strategy type. They also work in any market condition. An arbitrage doesn't need a bullish regime or bearish regime. It can work as long as you found a natural arbitrage. And they also have the lowest correlation to traditional investments because of this, that they don't need any other outside factor in play. It's just a pure alpha inefficiency, meaning that you'll get the lowest correlation. Now, the downside of this, because obviously this sounds all amazing, is downside, these opportunities normally disappear very fast, and the easy ones are very quickly arbitraged away. A good example of this is that when everyone thought crypto was very risky, there was actually a lot of arbitrage examples and things out there that you could actually trade, but they have slowly been arbitraged away. And nowadays, if you see an arbitrage, most of the time, because there are so many people looking for them, they're arbitraged away very fast. Normally, they last maybe a couple of hours at best, maybe a couple of days if you're kind of lucky. Now, that isn't always true, but at least from the examples I've seen, you can't really have the expectation that you're going to find an arbitrage that lasts 5 years. It's a very difficult thing to find nowadays. Now, after going through all of this, you might be thinking, what is the best strategy type? Which one should you be using? Is there one that 100% is better than all the rest? Well, the truth is, really none of them are better than each one of them. They all have their own pros and cons, and as Jim Simons likes to say, that everything has an opportunity cost, and that is very true in strategy types as well. The best traders actually normally don't rely on a single strategy. They actually combine all three or even more strategy types. Obviously, these are just the main ones that encapsulate probably like about 80% of strategies, 90% of strategies that most people are trading. To give you an example of this is when trend following strategies are struggling during choppy markets, mean reversion completely shines, meaning that you're making way more money on mean reversion compared to trend following. And then arbitrage strategies, while they are short-lived, they can deliver fully uncorrelated or very low correlation return streams, meaning you could be making money with them when trend following is going great, or completely struggling during choppy markets, vice versa for mean reversion. This ultimately creates the most powerful way for consistent risk-adjusted returns. Now, I have a video on this topic on the channel. It's called the Holy Grail in trading, and it goes through why combining these different strategy types and using uncorrelated or low correlation stream is the best way to get high risk-adjusted returns in trading. And it's something that a lot of people overlook because a lot of people are just advertised, hey, this is one amazing strategy that you should just consistently use and it's going to last you a lifetime. That's really not true. Most strategies do have decay and will not always work in the future. Now, if you actually want to build these systematic trading strategy types for yourself, check out the first link in the description. It will guide you through everything.